Experience the future of storage with the Intel SSD 750 series, delivering uncompromised performance with NVMe Express and PCIe 3.0. Click now to learn how you can win one free from Intel and PC Perspective. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 351. We recorded on May 27th, 2015. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
And I'm Alan Malventano, the ghost of Christmas past.
Alan, where are you, Alan? The ghost of Alan passed. Alan's sitting in Ken's seat, which we're not allowed to show cameras, point cameras at, like contractually, actually, regardless if Ken is sitting in the seat. Ken's in China. I don't know. We just wanted to get rid of him for a week or so. So Alan's sitting behind the computer, hitting the buttons, doing the switching. So if anything breaks, it's no longer Ken's fault. It's actually Alan's fault. Interesting little tidbit. I apologize for missing the 350th episode of this podcast, by the way.
It was a blowout.
Yeah.
I'm very sad about that. I was in Florida enjoying sunshine and no internet connectivity, which is actually true in both instances. So it turns out that if your entire 30-story condo building has all concrete walls, wireless connectivity is difficult to get correct. So that's hard to do, apparently. Like one access point for a 1,200 square foot area is not enough when all the walls are concrete.
They're also dealing with rebar, which kind of makes a little bit of a Faraday cage.
That's true.
A wee bit.
And I think I counted at one point from my condo that we were staying at no less than 12 2.4 gigahertz SSIDs, all labeled Tidewater hyphen some 4-digit number or something like that, which I think was supposed to indicate what unit it was in. So a very interesting adventure there. But I'm back. We're here. We're ready. We're going to do a podcast. Welcome to the show. We record this every day. No, we
Don't do that.
We do not record this every day. Every week, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at pcper.com/live. It's where you can see all the amazing pre-show banter that occurs. Sometimes you get to see Josh's dogs. Sometimes they make cute sounds. Sometimes they growl and try to nip at his nose, and that's a little bit funnier. But today, it's just us. Ken's out of town. You'll have to celebrate in your own particular way.
You know, it's nice that you you farmed him out to Foxconn to make some Apple products.
Look, Apple came around and said, we're looking for some people to make some watches. We can't keep up with demand. Who do you got? And I was like, Ken is sitting in the chair I really wanted anyway. So if you take Ken, I get the chair and the mouse and the keyboard that he steals and puts on the desk.
Yeah.
So I think it really worked out best for everybody involved, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. If you need a reminder, if you want to be told of our super awesome live events, then you can go to pcper.com/subscribe. You get this little webpage here where it asks for your name and your email address. We sign you up for a mailing list that all we use is for our live events, and it's very handy for all of those types of things. So you should definitely subscribe to that. Josh does not have access to it, which of course means the porn is at a minimum sent to that list. I wouldn't say it's to a 0. I'd just say it's at a minimum. But if you aren't on the list, you may have missed our Logitech live stream today as well, which we had Chris Pate from Logitech out with us. Knows just about everything there is about keyboard switches and mouse switches and all that other weird stuff. Alan, you've got to move the thing down. The thing on the side.
The thing.
Just go move it down one more. There you go. So you missed out on that. We gave away some keyboards and some mice and some headsets, and you could have been a part of that, but you're not because you're a loser. We also...
Hey, I tried
which
to be
mouse
part
was
of
the
it.
best grappling hook?
You know, we didn't actually get a straight answer on that question. We had somebody ask us what mouse would act as the best grappling hook, like Batman style. We didn't even answer that. Also, you still have 3 or 4 days left to enter this contest for us to give away. We're giving away a pair of 400 gig Intel SSD 750 series products, the PCI Express version that you can see right here in front of us, or on the screen rather. And as a side note, your SSD will have been used in the world's fastest storage test ever in the world, ever fastest. at least at PC Perspective, which Alan was working on this evening. So if you've ever been curious what maybe 4 or 5 SSD 750s can kind of do when you combine them, it's pretty interesting. We'll have more details on that next week, and obviously on the website, probably on Thursday or Friday as well. So stay tuned for that goodness. Let's get into the actual content of the week. First up, Maury posted a review of the Gigabyte Champion Series X99 Gaming 5P motherboard. X99 still holding on strong, right? I begin to wonder if the X99 is going to have the same lifespan as X79, because I believe Broadwell E is supposed to use this socket as well. Is that right, Josh? I think so. Or Jeremy, do you know that?
I think it is, but not completely positive.
So this is an X99 platform. It's going to have lots of PCI Express connectivity, 8 DIMM slots. It's one of it's. I don't think it's not Gigabyte's flagship, but the G1 Gaming has a lot of interesting type features and technology on it. It's got the power stage, POW IR stage, MOSFET layout implementation. It's got their improved kind of analog audio implementation as well. Actually turned out to be a pretty good board. In terms of, you've got 1 gigabit Ethernet connection. It is a killer NIC powered device, which I still am not convinced that's a positive over anything, really. Because the only thing, I mean, it runs fine, it performs fine. The only thing that I've noticed in my experiences with that stuff is if you install the killer NIC software, like if you have really fast internet, you actually have to disable the QoS in order to get the full speed. So something we've noticed here, plenty of USB 3 on the back, gold-plated analog audio, which is nice, I guess. Although I will say, when installing speakers into that connector and you don't have the back plate, makes it, I'm just kind of guessing at that point, because I forgot what the standardized versions are with that. Quick look at the layout of this motherboard and some of the high-level overviews. It does have 4-way graphics for SLI and Crossfire. It's got the amp up audio technology with the upgradable op amp. It's nice to see they're still doing that. Josh, did you have a motherboard that had the upgradable op amp? Did you have one of those?
Yeah, the Gigabyte G1 or the
was it the AMD the 990 FX?
It's the AMD. What was it? The FM2 Plus.
Oh, it was a Kaveri board. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. Killer E2200 gaming networking. But if you look at the board, black styling, a little bit of red accents, nothing too dramatic there. But you can see you've got your four full length PCI Express by 16 slots. Nothing magical on the back, although I guess you can see the routing for the audio back here as well. This is for the integrated wireless. They got the bracket there, but you add the antenna connections themselves. There's that CMOS battery placement. Does have M.2 PCIe. I guess that's M.2 PCIe support, because it's listed as 10 gigabit per second. You got support for all 3 lengths of M.2 connector there, which is nice. And here's a layout of total available bandwidth. 320 gigabits per second of bandwidth for total graphics card implementation. So more than enough for crazy. I don't know how many people do 4-way graphics, but hey, it's there as an option. Got the op amp, the sound core design, dedicated caps for audio, probably an isolated layer of the PCB, though I'm not 100% sure on that. It's a nice board. I feel like I've seen so many X99 products now that they all kind of run together, and it feels bad to say this, but they kind of it feels like they need like a new chipset revision to kind of like help differentiate things, because X99 has been around for so long. Maury found it still a fairly good overclocker, 4.37 gigahertz. I think it's a little bit lower than some of the other ones he's seen. But decent enough. Pricing wise, $309. That's high for a motherboard, but it's not particularly high for an X99 platform board. So that's interesting, I guess. In terms of strengths, solid stock performance, overclocking potential. Maury likes the board aesthetics. Illuminated rear panel shield, that's a plus. Lots of spacing on the CPU socket for those enormous heat sinks that Maury likes to include here. But he didn't witness complexities in terms of dialing in the overclock. Basically, it wasn't as simple as some of the other motherboards that he's used on the X99 platform to get to the overclock that he got. And then he says odd ATX 12-volt power connection implementation requiring 1 to 3 power adapter. And I guess I need to go back in the layout and actually see what that's referring to. Does anybody have any idea what that actually means?
Wasn't there a Molex on the edge of the board?
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Back where...
Let's see.
It was one of the pictures on that last page.
Yeah, I remember seeing that now.
Yeah.
Scroll. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Well, that's just for PCI Express, right? Like just a little bit of added power for PCIe.
But there might have also been something about the...
Yeah.
Well, you scroll all the way down and you see the normal connector, but it's got this extra one.
Okay. Well, there you go. Although the 8-pin is rather high up on that board too. Yeah, that's still the biggest pain in the butt when you're building any system.
Power cord's going to be stretching.
Is connection of that, yeah. So if you're interested in X99 platform boards, I know a lot of people still are, because it's still the highest performance system you can get. Check out that review. That again is the skip past it, X99 Gaming 5P motherboard. Now, moving on here, this is an interesting one, and I have no idea even how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to let Sebastian do the introduction for... I'm going to try it in it. Is it Calyx? Pat? P-A-T?
Yeah. It's the Pat. I guess technically it's the Pot. It's... I think the word means... What did I say it means? It means bean. This is it's a small Korean company called Calyx, and they make high-end digital audio products. They started off making, I think, digital to analog converters, and they have a couple on the market. And in the audiophile world, of course, you can get into stuff that's, $65,000, $80,000 speaker pairs and just crazy expensive stuff. And they're kind of on the low side of price. Like this device, it's an external DAC. It's a USB DAC.
It looks like a remote control, to be honest with you.
It kind of does, but the first time I saw it, because it's about how tall is it? It's about the size of a domino, and it looks kind of like a domino at first glance. It's thin. It's about 60 millimeters tall. It's very light. It just basically feels like a small piece of aluminum in your hand, and it just has a micro USB connection on the bottom of it. It comes with two little cables that are like 4 inches long. One of them can plug into a standard USB port. The other one is like a USB, like a micro USB on the go cable. Mm-hmm. And it will connect to anything that supports digital audio out, which in my previous experience, and I've been using Nexus phones, the last like 3 Nexus phones I've had, and the 4 and 5 did not ever properly support digital audio out. You go into any car you get is going to support digital audio through an iPhone or an iPod, but rarely have I ever heard digital audio from an Android device. And it turns out that the standard in Android 5, Lollipop, actually provides digital audio output as part of the operating system.
Okay.
So since I'm running vanilla Android on this Nexus 6, I hooked it up and instantly I had sound. Now the controls, if you're watching the video, you can see the buttons on the front are not labeled, but they have just your standard kind of Apple remote functionality. You can press the center button, turns the music on and off. It's like your play pause, and you have volume up and down, or the upper and lower buttons, and then left and right track skips. And when I had it hooked up to the iPad, I was able to, in Pandora or Apple Music or whatever I was using, it worked properly. I was able to skip tracks and change the volume and stop and start the music. So that will not work on an Android phone at all.
Yeah, I noticed that even with like other like just random headphones, that doesn't ever work on Android, which is frustrating. Yeah,
the standard is Apple's standard, and it does not translate to Android at all. Sometimes they'll work with the play pause, not always, but volume and track skip never work with those things. But the sound quality was really good, far better than what I was comparing it to. So for the Nexus 6, I listened to the same FLAC CD rips that I made using JRiver on a Windows computer. And first of all, like the most obvious thing is it's considerably louder and more There's more channel separation. It just sounds kind of wider and clearer. There's not the hiss of background noise when you turn the volume up a lot. So the headphones I'm wearing now actually are the ones that I use. These are iGrado headphones. They're Grado's cheapest headphone. They're $49, and they have their SR60 driver, which is out of a pair of $80 headphones in it, which is kind of cool for the price. But these have 100 decibel sensitivity, so they're very easy to drive. So the Pot puts out 0.8 volts of power, so you need sensitive headphones or just earbuds, like in-ear monitors with it.
Right.
And they were pretty secretive. The designer did not really want to give out what's in it. I don't know if that's embargoed, if there's like an upcoming DAC chip in it, but whatever is going on in here, this thing supports up to DVD quality sound, so 48 kilohertz sound if you have it. But it'll do the 16-bit 44.1 of any CD rip or iTunes, any MP3 store, and it definitely sounded better than either my laptop's built-in sound or the Nexus 6 sound by far.
Interesting. How much does this cost?
$99.
Okay.
So if you compare it to, like I mentioned in the article, the Audio Quest Dragonfly, very popular product. I know Patrick Norton has talked about it in the past. It's a $149 DAC. It just plugs into a USB port. Looks like kind of a big thumb drive.
Right.
Gives you a little bit better headphone amplifier, a much better digital to analog converter than your laptop would have. And it works on Macs and PCs. This thing does the same thing, only because of the micro USB OTG cable. You can use it with any Android phone, I would assume running Lollipop, although it depends on the phone. And it also worked with iPhone and iPad as long as you had their Apple has like this $29 USB adapter to Lightning. It's like their camera connection kit, but what it really does is just give the iOS device a full USB port essentially. And it worked just fine with that. And it gave the Windows computer the same remote functionality as the iOS one. So that was cool. I was on my ThinkPad and play, pause, track, skip, all that stuff worked too. So.
I mean, so this is something you would recommend buy? Like, do you feel like you need to know that you are an audio person before you buy something like this? Or is this something like, hey, maybe you don't even know that you're an audio person, try this and see if you can hear the difference?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because when I first saw it and I grabbed my phone out of my pocket and I was just like, all right, well, I was in a store and I'm like, I'm probably not going to be able to hear the difference. It's going to be really subtle. A lot of audio stuff is really subtle, and people pride themselves on being able to hear subtle differences. But this thing was so much louder initially and clearer sounding, just because the amplifier was so much better than the one in my phone, that it was just instantly noticeable with the same headphones. And I tried a couple different pairs of headphones that they had at the store, and then when I got this review unit and I was trying them out with different headphones here, it was just kind of night and day. I'd say the iPad fared the best because Apple tends to put better headphone amps in their stuff, but between my ThinkPad and these Grados, there was on the Nexus 6, there was just no comparison. I think it would be easy for anybody to notice a difference, just because if nothing else, it's going to be louder. There's less background hiss. It sounds better, clearer initially, so you don't have to be an audiophile.
That's interesting. I might check that out. I might have to, because I have often told everybody I'm not an audio person. Like, I don't feel like I can tell a big difference between different audio cards and sound cards and different things that people are doing on motherboards for analog audio. I know, Josh, you do.
I pretend to be.
Well, that's fine too. Whatever works. So check that out. That's again, Calyx, Calyx.
Yep, Calyx Pot.
PAT. With an odd capitalization pattern.
Yes,
well.
Might be some kind of acronym. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Let's talk with Josh. You posted a review this week of the Sapphire Radeon R9 285 Mini ITX graphics card.
I did?
Tell me about this card, I guess. It's Mini ITX, so it's small.
Well, it's small, and there are people around that can cope with that. They don't
You
always
are one
show
of
it
those
off,
people.
but-
I know that you are.
Yeah. So this past week, I had the the chance to review the excuse me, R9 285 ITX OC. This is a slightly overclocked version of the R9 285. It's the latest chip so far from AMD, based on Tonga. It's GCN 1.2 architecture. Now, this chip had kind of a rough start. It was released, and of course, what were you working on at that same time, Ryan, that was taking up a lot of your time?
Of when the 285 came out?
Yeah.
The
GTX 970 and 980?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would you have rather have reviewed? The 980 and 970, which were based on a new Maxwell architecture, really high-performance parts, or the R9 285, which is mid-range?
Well, Josh, I would like to review every product with equal amounts of time and effort, but that is not something that I'm able to do as a human being, only being able to stay awake 23 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was kind of a bad timing, some bad marketing, but otherwise it's a really neat chip. It is based on the latest GCN architecture. It has, true audio, XDMA, Crossfire. It's got the better FreeSync support that the later versions do. It's a really neat chip, and it's kind of underrated. But again, when it was released, it was probably a little too expensive. It was going up against the 970 and 980, which were really kind of neat parts, and power efficient and all of those good, wonderful things that we expect from the high end. But Sapphire is able to produce one that was really small. It's a 190 watt TDP part, slightly overclocked. If you could look in here, it's got a pretty massive amount of heat sinks or heat pipes for as small of a card, and it's got a pretty densely packed fans and an 85 or 95 millimeter fan. It's really quiet. It stayed around 37 degrees Celsius at idle, and even at full load and at overclocked, it never got above 71, 72 C. And this is in my lab, which is, average temperature for the room.
It's not snowing there or anything?
It's it did last week, but happily we cleared that out, and we've had some nice days. The outputs are decent. It's got 2 mini DisplayPort, 1 HDMI. It's not HDMI 2.0, and of course a dual link DVI. So you can do Eyefinity, 3-card Eyefinity, just as long as you've got the specific adapters. It's got a big chunk out of there that helps the cooling. It's not a blower type, so heat goes out the front and the back. And in terms of performance, this is a slightly faster card than the average GTX 760. So a lot of GTX 760s came out of the box overclocked. This one is slightly overclocked, like by 10 megahertz at the core, and it beats up on those pretty handily. When looking at a lot of benchmarks, this matches a GTX 960, and in some ways it's a little bit faster. It does have the color compression, so it's more efficient in the memory, and it's got a 256-bit bus. Only kind of downside is it's got 2 gigs of memory. If you're looking at Eyefinity or above 1080p or 1600p, then you're kind of running out of space. There were some applications I had. If the memory was not overly used, it ran perfectly fine at 1600p. And things like Battlefield 4, Thief, things that will utilize all of that space. Then it started to get a little chunky at the higher resolutions. But otherwise, if you're just doing 1080p gaming all the time, this is a really fantastic card. It's small, it's quiet, it stays pretty cool considering it's still a 190 watt TDP part, and it's in a really, really tight package. Trying to think, it overclocked nicely. It didn't pull all that many watts. It is not obviously as efficient as a Maxwell type architecture, but it still is underneath what, say, like a GTX 970 is able to pull at the wall with a computer. Right. So, anything you can think of or questions you had?
Overclockability was one thing. No, it's an odd spot right now because of all the rumors and stuff that we'll get to eventually as well. These types of cards are going to have difficulty. But I love the ITX design of this. I love the small form factor. being able to get these types of GPUs in smaller and smaller cases and smaller places. It's something AMD's GPUs have had more difficulty with because of their power efficiency deficit, I guess, compared to what the Maxwell offerings are. So it's nice to see Sapphire get this into a smaller design.
Yeah, and it's $219 before any kind of rebate. I've seen rebates as high as $20 and $30. So you're looking at anywhere from $179 to $189. And if you were thinking, hey, I want to buy this now because my usage scenario kind of says this is a good thing, I don't know if I would have. I mean, I don't know exactly what's coming up, but I really. I've been struggling with video cards all my life. Well, not all my life, since 1996. And the one thing I learned is that unless you're just right around a week of a new architecture being put out, there never is really a bad time to buy a video card. Unless, of course, the prices just went up for no real reason, which has happened before. But, if it's at a decent price and it's an upgrade for you and it fits your usage scenario, it's not a bad buy. I don't think you'd feel a lot of buyer's regret or remorse in a couple of weeks. Certainly, there are always going to be new things out, and there will be more sales, but it's not a bad purchase.
I agree. I'm glad you got to get your hands on this. So that is the Sapphire. Oops, wrong buttons right here. The Sapphire. What was the model number? Or the
R9 285 ITX OC.
Oh, I could have just guessed that had I just
thought
long enough. Yeah. Very cool. All right, so we have a lot of news to get to this week, focusing on rumors and speculation and leaks. But before we do that, everybody,
dun, 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 dun.
It's time to talk to you about today's podcast sponsor. That's right, everybody. This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Casper, a brand new advertiser with us. They are an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the cost. That's right, online retailer of mattresses. It is revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing that savings directly to the consumer. Now, there are lots of benefits to Casper. Casper's mattress is an obsessively engineered mattress. I love that terminology, obsessively engineered mattress, at a very fair price. It uses two technologies, latex and memory foam, that come together for better nights and brighter days. Do we have Josh muted? I want to make sure we still have Josh on mute here. Okay. It's a comfortable mattress that has just the right amount of sink and bounce. A Casper mattress provides long-lasting comfort and support. You can buy it easily online, and the best part, and I think most importantly when you're buying something like this online, is that it's completely risk-free. You can try sleeping on a Casper mattress. It understands the importance of truly trying on a mattress that in reality you spend about a third of your life on, which is one of those depressing statistics that you hear all the time, which is people have always told me, don't buy a cheap mattress because if you sleep 8 hours a day, you're literally spending a third of your life in bed. Casper offers free delivery and painless returns within a 100-day period. That's right. You get 100 days to actually use the mattress and see if you like it before you decide to keep it or send it back. So you don't have to lie down on a mattress in a showroom and have to make a decision based on 30 seconds of awkward moments where you and a salesman make eye contact while you're laying on a bed and he's standing over you. That sounds pretty bad, actually. And did you know, statistically, lying on a bed in a showroom has no correlation to whether it is the right bed for you? I don't know where that statistic is. I'm going to have to ask for some more details on that statistic.
I can back that up.
You think that's true?
I bought a very expensive memory foam mattress at one point, thinking it was awesome, and it ended up being too firm, and I had to go and buy one of those cheap memory foam little cover things to put over a very expensive...
Over your very expensive mattress. That sounds stupid.
Yeah.
If you had gone to Casper, you would have 100 days to sleep on it.
That's true.
Before deciding if you wanted to keep it or send it back. And Casper's mattresses are made in the good old US of A. So here's what your call to action is, guys. You can get a Casper mattress for $500 for a twin or $950 for a king size. Comparing this to industry averages, that's an outstanding price point. And you can save an additional...
bargain.
It's a bargain, exactly. And because of your friends at PC Perspective, you can save an additional $50 as one of our audience members by going to casper.com/PCPer and entering the promo code PCPer. So it's casper.com/PCPer. Use the promo code PCPer. Try out a mattress. Try it out for 100 days before deciding whether or not you want to keep it. And in all honesty, my wife has been complaining about our mattress for like 6 months, maybe more than that. And now she's pregnant, so the complaining has maybe gone up a little bit. I'm not saying. So this might be something that we take advantage of as well. Casper.com/PCPer, promo code PCPer. I'll make sure I remember that when I go check them out as well. So thank them for their support of PC Perspective. Now, on to the news. And there's a lot of it. This is this was an update to an older post. Remember, we saw this picture from like Chip Hell. It was supposed to be of the R9 390X or Fiji or whatever they were calling it, and then there was a stylized shot, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then there were some maybe some thoughts that it was a rumor, and then our friend Johan Andersson from DICE, the developer of the engine powering Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 and all that stuff, tweeted this photo out with the line, "This new island is one seriously impressive and sweet GPU. Wow, and thanks to at AMD Radeon, they will be put to good use."
It's good to be king, huh?
Yeah. Also, like, do you think... So, clearly this picture is accurate now. Like, this is a realistic thing. I don't know if this is the only option they're going to offer for, whatever Fiji turns out to be called. But it's clearly one of them, and it definitely matches the pictures that we saw, the week or 2 weeks before, right? Like, I mean, clearly those are the same. Clearly those are the same thing.
I have a feeling that whatever Fijis they have out, they're all going to be water-cooled because it's going to be hot.
So my question is, do you think AMD told him to send that tweet out? Or do you think AMD was like, damn it?
I think he probably asked, hey, can I do kind of a picture of this just for interest? And AMD's like, yeah, Johan, we'd like you to do that because you have the most popular multiplayer game around and you do amazing things.
Jeremy, do you like the way this card looks? Now that we know this is what it looks like?
It's interesting.
I am a fan of the size.
It's about the same size as Josh's card that he just showed us.
That's true.
That's a little bit bigger.
This is?
A little bit, but...
Yeah, because, I mean, you look at the back. It's
look
like
at the pins. Yeah.
Look at where the pins are.
Show me your
you've
card.
got a good 1.5 inches
Show me your
of
card
extra
again.
space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. It's still way smaller than like a 980 or a 290X or whatever.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
And water-cooled standard is going to be interesting if they do it. It kind of looks like they will be. And just from some of the stuff we've been hearing, it makes sense thermally. But that'd be the first time we'd ever seen retail cards purely water-cooled coming out. And may make the resellers a little bit either happy or sad because it's kind of hard to brand when everything's stuck on the same cooler.
The add-in
unless they
card
want to play
partners
with
are
it
totally
and go
screwed.
crazy.
Yeah, the add-in card partners would be screwed on this. But I mean, even like the GTX 980, the Titan X is like that. The Titans are like that. Nobody gets to rebrand and reconfigure them.
Except EVGA. Don't they have their own cooler that just came out?
For the Titan?
For the Titan X.
I don't know that that's
so.
true. Maybe they do.
What's his name?
Jacob?
Jacob. He just tweeted out a bunch of pictures, and here's this EVGA cooler. It
That
says
doesn't sound like something Jacob would do.
EVGA Titan X.
Okay, all right. Well, I stand corrected. They're like the 295X2 is one that never got any stuff on it. But then again, that was the water cooled one. But a lot of the $1,000, like the Titan Z, never got any customization. The Titan Black never got any customizations. So it's possible, but those are lower run than I'm hoping that Fiji will be. So we'll have to see
I
if
have
that
a
turns
fear.
out to be the case. Yeah, you do.
A fear that these cards, just because the interposer technology is so new, you're not going to have many of them at launch.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to have many of them at the end of summer.
Don't say that.
And who knows
Makes me sad.
what winter will be like.
Winter is coming.
Winter. Eternal winter.
No, please.
Okay, the graphics cards can run faster then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Also, in the AMD rumor side, Sebastian, you actually wrote this up. So tell me what this is all about.
Well, videocards.com posted.
No. You didn't say that right.
What? How's it pronounced?
Video cards.
Video cards.
It's
There you
like
go.
Josh Tech.
I haven't got the double down. Okay. Anyway, they posted this article where it was, I don't know, it was kind of some conflicting information even within the article, as was pointed out in our comments. And I quoted their little rundown of the different models and what their 200 series name is off to the right. And if you kind of follow along the list, you'll see that apparently just about all of the R9 300 series parts would then just be rebrands. And they're kind of speculating that like Josh has been saying, the new Fiji card will be named Fiji, kind of like NVIDIA calls the high-end card the Titan and the Titan X. So it's possible there's going to be a completely new architecture card, the one with high bandwidth memory that's called something different, and that these 300 series rebrands will just be for the OEM space.
I think they're going to call it Dr. Zeus.
They should.
Dr. Zeus.
Exactly.
Dr. Zeus.
That would be if they're in Crossfire.
Isn't Dr. Zeus the only one who defeated the Titans? Something like that.
I don't know. So I kind of
It
theorized
was in Return
around
to the
this.
Mountain of the Apes, I think.
Yeah.
I theorized around this when we first saw when they launched the OEM variants of the 300 series, like they kind of publicly posted them on their website, and there was a 380 that was actually a 280X or 285, right, Josh? Is that what it was? Yeah.
I thought it was just the OEM 280 was the old Tahiti 280, or
no.
am I not
The
remembering
Radeon,
correctly?
the Radeon R9 380 was listed as
As the 285?
a 285.
Okay.
But there was nothing else above that listed in those parts. Now, it makes sense if maybe the R9 390 comes out as Hawaii Pro and the 390X comes out as Hawaii XT, right? In terms of like the model numbering still works out that way. And then you would have Fiji be either a 400 series or a completely like kind of custom named part. Like you just call it AMD Fiji. I don't think they would do that, but I would actually think that would be pretty cool. So now this driver came out. Is that what the leak is from? Is a driver that lists these things, R9 300 series as Hawaii XT. Well, clearly they've already talked about they're not going to have an OEM 380 be a completely different GPU than a retail R9 380. That would be insane. Not impossible, but insane. So clearly, hopefully they won't do that. But I don't know, man. All this, I mean, how are we going to feel if what happens is we get Fiji XT and Fiji Pro for whatever they're going to be named, and then everything else is a rebrand with a lower price, I guess?
More
lower price could be good. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I was waiting for new NVIDIA cards a couple of years back. Ba-dum-tsh.
Yeah. I mean,
Not the first time we've had to deal with this.
no, but they've done it since like the 7900 now.
No, I think they're probably just going to do more memory. I mean, so like the 285, it was relegated to 2 gigs, and it'll either come out in the kind of mid-range part as a 4 gig or 6 gig, depending on if they utilize that extra 128-bit memory bus that it supposedly has, or for the Hawaii, they'll all come out at 8 gigs.
Yeah. I think I'm hopeful that there will be a new Tonga-based GPU that comes out that is bigger than the R9 285, uses a 384-bit memory bus and maybe unlocks
2,000 shaders, 2048.
Unlock some of the features of that GPU that maybe have been hidden for a while that they didn't want to release because
kind of like Bonaire.
Going to eat into 290 and 290X. I don't know how that will work because they still clearly want to sell Hawaii chips. So if a Tonga XT or whatever you want to call it is going to be as fast as a Hawaii, then you have different issues. So
Yeah, but I want like free scaling and the audio effects and all of those things that you can only get on
True.
what isn't exactly a high-end card.
yeah, you're right. There's technological differences that Tonga has over even Hawaii. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll see. Here we go. So while Ken's in China, this fancy little laptop made its way here. We did a post.
Is that a mouse pad?
Yeah, it's a mouse. It's a mousing surface. It's a very thin laptop. This is the Lenovo LaVie Z. If you remember, this was kind of one of our biggest discussion points from CES in January. Because I mean, it's a fairly thin laptop. It's not the thinnest laptop that we've ever used. It has it has a full-size HDMI port and full-size USB ports, right, that fit on the side of this. No issues with that. But if you look at the picture, it opens up and it kind of looks like a normal notebook, except this thing is like, I don't know how to describe it. It's so light, but it's not.
It feels like it's hollow.
Yeah,
Like it feels like there's nothing in it.
Yes. It feels like when you go to a furniture store and they have like those cardboard TVs that are there to make it, oh, hey, what does the TV look like in here? And then sometimes they'll have like a cardboard laptop sitting on a desk.
Those aren't real?
Well, this picture never changed on the screen. Did you think it was just locked up?
Yeah, it was, because it was running like
So
Windows XP.
This honestly, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not much. This feels like picking up something like that.
Yeah.
It is.
I think the fake laptops at the furniture store are way more than that.
May.
Honestly.
They may. Ken took the backplate off this before he left and handed it to Alan. And Alan, you said it was like holding a piece of like if you handed him a piece of cardboard that was the same shape, the cardboard would weigh more
Yeah.
than the back panel of
Where
this.
does the LAN cable go?
It does not have one. It goes to the USB 3.0 port.
Ah, okay.
Come on, Jeremy. Ultrabooks don't have full-size Ethernet ports.
This is true.
You got to buy a dongle.
I'm going back to our post from CES that Tim wrote up for us, and we did a video on it as well. It's a 13.3-inch screen. It weighs 1.72 pounds, but that doesn't seem that minimal. It's just the way it feels, like it's because it's such a large machine, like form factor wise. It's got a 2560 by 1440 resolution display in it. This model has a Core i7 processor, which I actually think is a detriment to it because it cuts down on battery life, right? So when you get something this thin and the battery life is going to be lower than you want, the first thing is, well, I'd take another half pound to get X number more hours of battery life out of it, which is a valid, trade-off.
Kind of what
And
Apple
I'm guessing
did.
it sits flush inside, so you can't even buy an extender.
Yeah, you can't get
Like
a
the battery itself, you couldn't buy a larger one.
Oh, no. The battery is internal. Yeah. Battery in this is internal. But I mean, performance is great on it because of that processor. I think it's got 8 gigs of RAM. The keyboard is very not Lenovo-like, I will say as well, first impressions. The material was co-developed with Lenovo and Fujitsu. It's some kind of magnesium alloy. Is that right,
Yep.
Alan? And so I think the keyboard maybe takes a little bit from Fujitsu, just kind of guessing because it's so unlike what Lenovo has done before. Also, some of the branding is different.
How does it torque? I mean, when you hold it by an edge, does it bend quite a bit?
It's kind of rigid, but like it is a more flexible build. Like in other words, like you can see Ryan, like
See a little bit.
if you try to like that will flex more than other laptops. Actually, that's one of the things they told us at CES was the display specifically. They had to make it in such a way where it is designed to be able to flex. Right? Remember that, Ryan?
Yeah, it was like glued attached or something like that?
Somehow the way that it's assembled is so that it's if you design something to flex, right? It's actually ends up being more durable in the end, even though it is not exactly staying perfectly rigid all the time. But if you build flex into something by design, you can get away with making it lighter, and doesn't have to be as rigid. And as long as it goes back to where it was once you're done flexing, which is the important part, right?
Right, yeah.
And that what that laptop does.
So you don't want to put it in your back pocket, right?
Well, you might not be able to fit it.
Absolutely. You do.
Yeah.
Come on.
I would say
Lenovo's X1 Carbon has a flexible lid too, and it was designed that way, right? Because that one has the same kind of like aluminum magnesium construction.
No,
and
this one has a very different body to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is I'm trying to remember what they called it.
It's much thinner. Like the shell of it is very, very thin, like extremely thin material.
It doesn't feel like any other material I've ever felt on a laptop before.
It's like there's not really any cross bracing inside of it. Like when you look at the inside of it, like the whole thing is just designed so that it can torque.
Is it magical? Would you describe it as magical?
I might describe it as magical. The first impression you get when holding it is magical.
The first time you pick it up, and then you're first amazed that it's so light, and then you're amazed when you open the lid and it actually turns on, because you take a few seconds to realize that, oh wait, this might not be a full laptop. It might just be something that they had that was a prop, like a demo of what the model could be, right? And then the guy's like, oh yeah, go ahead, open it up, and you open it up and it's a full blown machine, and it's just lighter. It crosses this funky threshold just in an average person's brain, I would guess, where you just don't expect it to be functional as light as that is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the uncanny valley of laptops.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
We've got a
What does
review.
it mean?
We've got a review
It's
pending
so
on
light.
it. I think I'm going to my first guess is that the lightness is going to be amazing. The performance is going to be fantastic because of its Core i7 Broadwell implementation. I think its battery life is going to be its downfall because of that processor, and maybe because of the higher resolution screen. It's got 25 by 14 instead of like a 1080p or something like that. I think I don't want to say yet, but I think the battery life is on the low side of what we're seeing with other Broadwell machines for sure. But it's not super expensive. Like, it's not cheap. It's like $1,400, I think. But considering its premium kind of, placement in the market, that's not so bad. So we'll see. Review pending. Another leak. Jeremy, what's this one? This is a Logitech wheel leak, perhaps?
Yeah, it is indeed. A couple of people got some pictures of what is obviously branded a PS4 wheel, but is going to be USB, so it's going to work on a PC just fine. And people like Josh are very excited about this because it's been a while since we've seen a good wheel come out that actually is compatible with pedals and shifters. And in some of the pictures that they showed in the full article, you can see a box for a shifter. You don't actually see the shifter, but there is definitely a box for a shifter, which is good news because if you've got one of the older style Logitechs, you might not have to upgrade your pedal and shifter. It should, in theory, work with this, unless, of course, you've stomped it in the ground, in which case you've got a perfect excuse to get a new one. It's also kind of neat in that this is before Logitech always did Driving Force wheels and G-Series wheels. This is the Driving Force G29, so they've put them together, which probably means one developer crew, and maybe a little bit better product overall. And I still don't understand, Josh, what that orange wheel is supposed to do.
Is that brake bias or something?
No, I think that's traction control setting. So you're like sport,
You fancy.
snow, downhill,
So it'll come in handy under Rally, won't it?
What was it?
grocery store.
So actually this afternoon we had the grocery store setting. We had Logitech in studio, and we asked them very specifically about this, and they very specifically said, we're not going to say anything about your post. Alan asked them, I asked them, and even off the record, we're not going to tell you anything about that. Okay, fine.
I was
not really off the record, was it?
I mean, I was bringing it up mostly.
He did say on the stream, Chris said, this is the first time I've gone to E3 in the last 4 years. And I was like, okay.
That's what his response was to us, too. Even before, it was kind of like, I'm going to E3.
The G27's been out since 2010.
But the G27 comes with the pedals and the shifter.
Correct.
We think you don't know.
This one probably will.
I would imagine it would, because the box sitting under that desk looked awfully big for just the wheel, if you look at that.
Well, this box here on the table says, you can just see the word shifter on almost like it's a separate
That
thing.
one does say shifter, yeah. But I don't know. I can see I can actually see
Maybe
why.
they're going to allow you to mix and match.
That's the hope.
I can see them selling the shifter alone as an add-on, because for a lot of games, you could just use the paddles and a set of pedals, right? So just assume the pedals did come with that wheel. You don't necessarily need the shifter off to the side anymore, not with, modern kind of, cars, right?
I only drive cars with paddle shifters anyway. It's a rule I have now.
I love paddle shifters.
So maybe we'll hear some more of that at E3, which is just I think it's like 3 weeks from now, so not so much there. Other rumors and speculation coming through. It's Rumors Week here at PC Perspective. Sebastian, I'll let you take this one again. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 980 Ti specs leak? Question mark?
That's right. On slow news weeks, we love rumors. Everyone loves rumors except for manufacturers, who probably don't appreciate it when things come out like this. We don't know if it's true. That's why I had to say rumor. This was another video cards article, and this one was via another rumor site. So it's 2 layers of this. Hardware Battle, which I'd never heard of, and I went to it, and it was not in English. So I'm kind of scrolling through looking at pictures, but basically there's a GPU-Z screen grab, and it seems to indicate, of course, they could have just changed the text on the name, but they conveniently hide the device ID.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know, with their logo. So seems a little questionable, but this card is, if we can believe this, it's going to be probably based on a cut down Titan, what is it, the X, or am I thinking of the Z?
Titan X.
Yeah.
So, the Titan X has like 3072 shaders. This one had a little less than that. They have a nice chart here that I put in the post that shows the difference between the X. This is a 980 Ti and then the 980 that's currently out. So you're gaining the 384-bit memory bus from the Titan X. You are moving from 4 to 6 gigs of GDDR5, and because of the wider bus, you gain the additional memory bandwidth. They don't know the TDP. They estimated the TMU and ROP count because that was covered up by the Hardware Battle logo. So it's interesting. I mean, I'm not sure where they get the 2816 number. I'm sure Josh would know better. Like the certain number of those cores have been disabled then, if this is a cut down GM200 part.
Yeah, 2 of the big shader blocks were chopped out.
So no idea what this might run. I mean, you'd think GTX 980s retail for around $550.
Yep.
So, you're thinking probably $700-800, but we will see if this is legitimate.
We always have to see.
I like how Ryan is just completely
can't
He
say
will
a
neither
word.
confirm nor deny these rumors.
I'm going to take the Logitech guy's stance and say, I don't know.
okay.
I don't know. It's weird. Never heard of that before. It's pretty weird. 980 Ti, don't know what that is. Let's move on to the next. What we got? Oh, this is not a rumor. This is actually something that's actually happening right now. Ken, our very own Ken, who we sent away to China, is sitting in a room listening to a keynote at the Lenovo Tech World conference, first annual, I believe.
Yeah, it's called orientation for Foxconn, and
We told him it was a Lenovo conference. He still actively believes it. So we're just kind of letting him roll with it and see how that actually goes. So it's happening in Beijing. It is Lenovo's it's kind of an odd thing for them because it's right before Computex. And they're just taking an opportunity to bring some media over and talk about their specific devices. There's a handful of them here. Lenovo Z41, Z51, 14 and 15.6 inch kind of mainstream designs, refresh with Broadwell, as well as new AMD discrete GPU options. Wink,
Like the
wink.
M360.
M360. There you go. Wink. So they're using Broadwell U class, the same thing that we've got in like the LaVie Z we were talking about before. And starting at $549 for this Z51, which is a nice starting price point, actually. They're actually already for sale on Lenovo's website. If you want to check those out, you can do that. And then they also announced the IdeaPad line with a lowercase I, which just looking at it makes me angry for some reason. Using Bay Trail M processors, 14 and 15-inch variants. They seem to be aimed at the low-cost Chromebook market, but these are running Windows with Bing. And they start at $249 for essentially a full laptop with Bay Trail. Compare that to the Intel Compute Stick. That was what, 130, 140, maybe it was 150.
The Linux one was cheaper, but still.
Yeah, true. The Windows one was $150, and you got basically this hardware minus the screen and the keyboard and trackpad.
You got the computer minus the laptop.
You get all the innards. You get all the innards minus all the outards, if you will. And real quick, I mean, Sebastian, what were the other things that were just occurring as we were getting ready to go on? Was there anything that we could say?
A couple of high performance SANs. They have this new lineup of enterprise stuff that's supposed to kind of emulate the speed of flash using conventional drives, and they have their own proprietary way of kind of sorting things and organizing it. What else was there? They have a new streaming device, the Lenovo Cast, which looks like a hockey puck and apparently works like a Google Chromecast. And that's $49. And then they were talking a lot about their new Cortana and
what was that called?
Reach It.
Reach It.
Yep.
So Reach It is their sort of data set, and
Reach
they're using the
around
Cortana
it?
voice
What?
recognition.
Yep. It'll reach around your entire cloud to grab data.
Yeah.
And it'll whisper sweet nothings in your ear while doing it.
It better.
That's Cortana speaking.
Exactly.
And they have a little video, and it doesn't look that exciting, but if it actually works,
it looks super compelling. If I believe that it would actually work in an environment that would be useful for me. I think, who was it in our hip chat that said, if you often look for Photoshop files at Starbucks with Tim, this will be a perfect solution.
That was me.
For you.
They made a pretty big deal out of Tim in the video. Like, Tim, where is this file from last week? And as long as you know someone named Tim and had a file last week, it'll find it every time.
I think Ken is actually going to get a chance to use that stuff while he's over there at the Lenovo event. So hopefully next week he'll come back. Hopefully next week he'll come back.
Hopefully.
Period.
That's part one.
And then when he does, he'll maybe have some interesting stuff to talk about from that type of thing, because it sounds super compelling. The ability, that's what everybody wants out of a computer, right? For me to be able to say, man, what were the pictures I took a couple of weeks ago of said device, right? Now, it's not going to be able to know that because it's not going to know what you're taking pictures of. But if I said, when I was with Alan, maybe it'll work, but I'm like, Alan's always at the office, so that's not really helpful.
Yeah, that'll narrow it down for you, right?
It won't, yeah. So,
but then you're like, oh, Alan was wearing that blue shirt. And they're like,
and Cortana's like,
yeah,
right no, I got you.
The teal or the navy?
If Cortana knows what I'm wearing, we got problems.
Yeah, you got to.
It's got to do a lot of data collection to work.
I've got a Windows 10 machine with a webcam pointed into the office.
Yeah, that's really creepy.
Oh shit!
It's true. Think about it. I was planning ahead for reach around it. So
all right. Our last rumor of the day: only Xeon-based Skylake CPUs will be getting AVX 512. This was posted by Scott literally moments before going onto the stream. AVX 512 is an instruction set that expands CPU registers from 256 to 512 bit. Comes with a core spec, AVX 512 foundation, and several extensions that can be added where it makes sense. And I guess we kind of all thought that AVX 512 would just be coming to Skylake across the board, but apparently that's only going to happen to the Xeon-based Skylake. Is that what you're seeing, Jeremy?
Oh, not even just that.
Oh.
If you get Knight's Landing, then you get a lot of the GPU style benefits. You don't get a lot of the high PC or HPC computational benefits. If you want those, you got to go with the Skylake or the Cannon Lake. So it's made shopping for your Xeon a little bit more difficult.
Oh.
Right? Because all of a sudden the oh bloody hell, and I haven't spent enough time looking at these.
Don't you know what AVX 512 ERI is?
Yeah, the PFI and the ERI.
Pure.
Don't do it.
Oh, sorry.
Pure freaking integers.
It makes sense to me. I don't see any reason with that. So that's a complicated table that people are going to have to look at and judge when. I mean, it's.
Then you have to have software that's actually going to.
Yeah. I think for consumers, this is not going to be an issue, right? You're not.
No.
You're not going to be using software that's taking advantage or could utilize AVX 512. Chances are very little software you have now takes advantage of AVX 2, right, which is the 256-bit implementation of that standard. So maybe in the future this will be taken care of. Maybe the generation after Skylake will just kind of everything will have all of it. This was just an interim because of size and power considerations. Keep in mind when I was at the last Intel Server Tech Day, they talked about, when you run, they had to implement specific AVX turbo modes because when you're running AVX 256 full, like every computation doing AVX 256, you use a lot more power and you have to downclock considerably to maintain TDP concerns. So 512, I imagine that will be even more so. So that's maybe why they need to be more specific about what features you want. That way they can better tune the processor and make sure you have the thermal headroom to get the performance you need out of certain things. And I'm sure all of these parts will be prohibitively expensive.
Oh yeah, well. Dirt cheap.
Indeed. That takes us to our hardware software picks of the week. Mine is this. Now I'm afraid because Sebastian's on the show tonight, and he's one of those audio nerds. Sebastian, I bought a Bose device.
That's good.
Oh, it is
shaking in his seat, enraged.
I mean, it's good for you.
Yeah.
I bought the Bose SoundLink 3. It's a portable Bluetooth speaker, as you can see here, battery powered. I've played through the entirety of the 3-movie Star Wars soundtrack so far in my battery test and haven't run into any issues. Rechargeable, obviously through an AC port on the back, auxiliary input option as well as Bluetooth. Very simple controls, power, Bluetooth sync, aux input, and then you've got your mute and volume changes. I bought this because I was on vacation and I was tired of the crappy music that people were playing at the beach around me, so I said, I'm going to buy one. And I'm going to buy one that gets louder. And this
Why didn't you buy one of the Giants branded ones?
Yeah, you're right. I could have got an Chicago Bears or Dallas Cowboys branded. I don't know why that's a thing.
You could have, but
I don't know why that's a thing. This is not cheap. It's $299. It's $299 everywhere. Bose doesn't. They do like price control stuff so that it's not on sale at any given spot really at any point. I think Bose is one of the brands that when you go to Best Buy you couldn't use your coupons on a long time ago when I was working there. I have to admit, again, going back to the earlier part of the show where I never claimed to be an audiophile in any sense of the word, it sounds amazing for as small of a speaker as it is. And it puts out a surprising amount of bass for a small of a device as it is, right? Clearly there's not a whole lot of room in there for a larger subwoofer. Like the bass comes out the back, treble comes out the front. It makes sense. And it gets loud and it sounds good while it does it. I don't have any complaints.
Waveguides.
Yep.
863 customer reviews with a 4.5-star rating is pretty good on there. Sorry to disappoint people if they think that Bose.
Hey, Bose
no
was
highs,
shit
no
back when
lows.
Dr. Bose was in charge, and he was doing some really interesting things with sound. In fact, he taught a class at MIT about acoustics. I guess it was fantastic because he knew all of the acoustics of the room, so he'd stand in a place and he'd be able to throw his voice out. So it sounded like he was talking behind you in class. But anyway, it sounds like perhaps maybe they're going back to there because they've made things as small as they can. Now maybe they can make them sound better.
It beats rocking the speakerphone sound on your phone,
True.
Oh, yeah.
That is true.
It does not have a microphone, so it will not act as a speakerphone.
Good.
No, but I mean, like,
Just the speaker on your phone.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than
like
just
your
listening to your
HTC
tunes on your smartphone, propped up against something to try to
A
amplify
Doritos
it.
can.
If I mean,
Alan said it sounded good. I'll say
it
there was
sounds
there was a
pretty good.
second opinion in it. Right?
it might. I don't know.
It's time and its place.
You might have to confirm this, but like it might just act as if you're using just a regular set of speakers hooked up to your phone, and when you try to do speakerphone, it still uses the mic from your phone. But the
Yeah, I
person
guess I don't
talking-
know. No, I don't think it does that because I think
Oh,
it
it doesn't.
assumes that it's not the
Two-way.
speaker may not be near you,
Yeah.
or the phone may not be near you, or whatever.
That's AirPlay compatible too, right? Not just Bluetooth.
I don't know the
it
answer
might
to that.
not be.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I don't.
I think
use
AirPlay will
iOS
do
devices.
like uncompressed, like 1644 audio, and Bluetooth is closer to like 320 kbps.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I'm just
Or
gonna
at
play
least
some
in
music
theory.
in the backend for just a
You're gonna get us taken down.
nah.
No, I
Yeah,
have
we're
to
gonna
talk-
talk over it.
I have to
so
talk
that
over it.
sounds
Like, no, go
a little
go.
Wiz Khalifa to demonstrate.
Just
the
saying
power.
that is going to have this stream taken
That's
down.
it. Yeah, that's it. We're off now. We're offline.
with featuring Charlie Puth, who I don't know who that is.
What is that?
Yeah.
It's just a song from the Fast 7 soundtrack.
Okay.
We
just have to keep talking.
that?
We just have to keep talking over it so we don't get taken down.
The Fast 7 soundtrack.
I
Yeah.
have no idea what that is.
It's a movie.
Hey, remember when there were movies called The
You
Fast
sure it's a
and
movie?
The Furious, and then they just stopped using all those words because they were too complicated,
Yeah.
and
It's
now
too
it's
many
just
words.
Fast 7.
It's too many words.
They met their quota, so.
All right. Anyway, moving on. Josh. No, Jeremy, you're next. What do you got?
Jeremy.
I'm amazed at how quickly the price of DDR4 has come down. It used to be stupidly expensive. It would run you the same price as the X99 motherboard that we were talking about earlier today. I saw a review this week for some DDR4 266. G.Skill is not maybe one of my favorite memory companies, but they're certainly not too bad. And it was $170 for 16 gigs of DDR4 2666, which they pushed pretty damn hard. They didn't show what they got at 1.4 volt because honestly you shouldn't be running this at 1.4 volt the entire time without acknowledging you are going to kill it. But at 1.3 they were over 3 gigahertz and the timings were only released by like 1. So there's a lot
That's
to play
pretty cool.
with on these DIMMs if you want to. You can probably get the timings down if you don't want to up the frequency. But from what they were saying in the review, that for $170, this is stuff that you can play around with if that's your thing, is screwing around with the brand new memory technology that not many of us have got to play with. If you want to drop
Cool.
down, I've seen some kits for 16 gigs around $130, $140. So
Pretty good. You're right. That's,
if
that's quicker than I
if
expected.
you're holding off on upgrading because of the prohibitive price of DDR4, not so much the case anymore.
I also want to correct myself. The movie is called Furious 7, not Fast 7.
No, you picked the wrong.
I picked the wrong word. I had two options, and I picked.
They didn't want to emphasize
Yeah,
fast for
Unfortunately,
obvious
Fast 7 was the porn parody.
Oh yeah,
Of
gotcha.
course.
Yeah, that makes sense too. All right, Josh. Speaking of porn parodies, what do you got for us?
You know what? This is great. You're going to have to click on the link and then expand it. But you really want to go to dinner at Hakkasan
I've been there.
because it will only cost you $199.99. I have no idea
is
how
this?
the guy was able to get to $199.99, but he did.
That's
So there you
called
have it.
luck.
Johnny Shee would be proud of
$199.
Hakkasan.
Thank you.
I will say Hakkasan.
Dinner for three for less than $200.
I've been to Hakkasan in San Francisco and Las Vegas, and it is actually very good. That was the first place I found Pappy Van Winkle 23 at a restaurant. So let's see what he had here: soft shell crab, vegetarian dim sum, duck roll, pepper duck.
What's a Javara bomb?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Coca-Cola, £4 each. Holy
Man, walking
jeez.
Buddhas are expensive.
Yeah, London.
Walking
How about
Buddha.
that?
London is very expensive. Very good. Very well done. And Josh asks, where's the whiskey? That's a valid question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, who we got left? Sebastian.
Me.
Yeah, we're gonna skip Alan because he left that blank.
So I don't have a computer to.
Yeah, he's occupied right now. That's fine. Go ahead.
You're in the PC perspective offices and you don't have a computer.
Well, one that I can use.
Unacceptable.
He usually fills this in right at the end of the show, right, on his laptop, rather than prepping ahead of time for it, like all of us.
Actually, I have a pick.
Yeah,
we just don't have a link in the.
We'll
in the
save
thing.
it for next week.
I
Okay,
put
we'll just
several
save it.
seconds of effort into this.
Yeah.
The last couple of days I've been using this ZenFone 2 from
Thank you.
Asus. And it is astonishingly nice for the money, and you really forget about the money as you're using the phone. It's really, really nice phone. And I will say the one thing that kind of stands out for me, and I'm really picky about this, the actual touch part of the screen, the digitizer, and Asus in their specifications that I was reading through, and I did a news post on this a week ago, they go into excruciating detail, like iFixit teardown detail of every single chip and part that's in this thing. But whatever they did with the digitizer and the implementation of touch is just buttery smooth. It's the best I've ever used is still an iPhone, but this thing is as good. And I know, Ryan, you had some time with Intel. They were talking about their new mobile platform. This is using an Intel Atom quad-core chip. And the base speed on this chip, I think, according to CPU-Z, was 500 megahertz, but it can boost up to 2.3 gigahertz on the one that I have.
Yep.
And it just seems to want to boost all the way up as soon as you start touching the screen. So you're always getting a really fluid response. So the long and short of it is basically that scrolling with this, it's running Android 5.0 Lollipop. Scrolling in Chrome is smoother on this than any other phone or tablet I've ever used.
It's pretty impressive. Again, we should say this is a $199 unlocked phone for the 16 gig model and $299 for the 64 gig model unlocked. There's other differences. The CPU on the higher end one is a little bit faster.
So you could have
as
a
well.
cell phone for 2 years or dinner at Hakkasan for one night.
Yeah. Actually, you can have this phone for your whole life.
Yeah, you can keep this phone forever.
You
It has
get to keep
2 SIM slots in it.
Two!
You could be on 2 networks at once, although one of them's only 2G apparently, and the other one's up to LTE.
You swap the
but-
SIM, so when you do your drug dealing, you use the SIM 2. When you're doing your other dealing, you do SIM 1.
I'm not a scientist, but this phone is pretty nice for the money.
I'm not a scientist either, and I agree. I have one as well. It's really interesting, right? It's Intel's first phone in the U.S., I think, that's will be widely available in the U.S. That's Asus's first widely available phone in the U.S. too. And I think they're both being very aggressive. Like, I'm sure Intel's selling them chips for dirt cheap, and Asus is they're doing whatever they can in terms of cost because they know that their only way to compete in a market that's dominated by iPhones and HTCs and Samsungs is to start that price low and show people that you can have as good of an experience on it as other thing. And I know Sebastian has a review pending as well.
You're forgetting they've already got a giant market share of a much larger market than North America.
Well,
China and India, the ZenFone has been selling there for a long time.
Yeah, but I still don't think they have a huge market share.
It's not the biggest. Huawei probably has more, and one other company I can't think of off the top of my head, but still, they've got a lot of money coming in from over there. They can play over here and undercut people. It's going to be interesting to see.
I will say, Sebastian, I totally screwed up when they asked me which color I wanted. I could have got red. And
what did you get?
You have it. You have silver. So
what's the other one? Is it gold?
Well, no, you have the one that they offered me a color of.
I see.
So we have 2 silvers is what we have.
Gotcha.
It was a moment of weakness. I didn't know what the red looked like. I thought it might have been pinkish. It was not. So there's a gold too.
That is a very rich red color.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Actually, even the silver has kind of a goldish tint to it.
And it's really only the back plate, so we can just swap that out later.
Yeah, exactly. The back plates just snap off.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
All right, so review pending on that probably next week from Sebastian. Thank you guys for joining us. Oh, quick reminder, I forgot to say this at the beginning. This Saturday is VLAN 10, right, Jeremy?
You damn straight it is. It kicks off at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and goes until the last frog drops, which, since many of them are overseas, can be pretty late in the day or early on Monday, depending on how well it goes.
Where can people go to find information about it? What's the best place?
Well, I suggest maybe going to PC Perspective, because up on the front page there is a gaming post which mentions exactly how you can get in and get in on all the draws from not only AMD this time, but Fractal Design has stepped up their game and is offering some fun little prizes. Not to mention there's a whole bunch of gaming going on. It's going to be great fun. So there's a thread in this post here where you go and let people know that you're going to show up, because we do appreciate to know how many people are going to be coming in. And you can also follow the links from there to find out what games we're going to play, what mods and patches we are currently using, because you should really download them all before you start playing, not after you start playing.
Yeah, that's a real bummer.
And also all the information on how to get on the TeamSpeak server, which you have to do if you want to win. And besides, it's a hell of a lot more fun when you can talk with all of the gang. So,
good list of people up here already that have signed up to be part of it. These are really fun things. If you've never taken part, it's a great way to meet a new community. This is our 10th one, which means there's been 9 before it, so they're only getting better from there. And I will be in the office.
Maybe you'll become a regular. They play 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, that's true. I'll be in the office over the weekend a lot testing video cards, so that might be a reason to
benchmarking.
To do that, yes. I'll go benchmark Unreal Tournament 2004.
Training day with Redeemers.
For many hours.
The original Far Cry, it's cutting edge graphics.
And everybody go to joshtech.com with 2Ks. That's all we've got. So that's going to be it for the show tonight, guys. Thank you very much for joining us for our 351st episode of Amazing PC Perspective Podcastness. PCPer.com/podcasts, where you can go find the subscription links, MP3 downloads, YouTube videos, past episodes, all that good stuff. And then PCPer.com/live is where I record the show, and PCPer.com/subscribe is where you can go sign up for the mailing list, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all in there. And thank you again to Casper for sponsoring tonight's episode of the podcast. And I think that's it. We will see you all next week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malventano.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
We need to find a different camera angle for Alan, to point into the nothingness.
Just hold up a mirror.
Nothingness.
That's true. You could just hold up a mirror.